Look, I'm going to be real with you for the next few minutes. Most guys think they've got masturbation figured out. I mean, how hard can it be, right? But here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. You might be doing it completely wrong, and it's messing with your head, your body, and definitely your sex life. I'm talking about habits you've probably never questioned. Stuff that feels normal, but is actually training your body to work against you. And before you click away thinking this is some anti-masturbation lecture, it's not. Masturbation is totally fine, natural, healthy even. But there are 3 mistakes that almost every guy makes that turn something good into something that's slowly sabotaging them. And if you stick around, I'm going to tell you exactly what they are, why they matter, and how to fix them without making this weird or complicated. Sound fair? First things first, let's kill the shame around this topic. Masturbation isn't the enemy. About 95% of men do it regularly, and that's completely normal. Your body was designed for this. The problem isn't that you're doing it, it's how you're doing it. Think of it like eating. Food isn't bad for you, but if you're always stress eating junk food while distracted, that's going to create problems, right? Same concept here. We're not talking about stopping. We're talking about doing it in a way that actually serves you instead of working against you. And here's something most guys don't realize. The way you masturbate literally shapes how your body responds during sex. Your nervous system is learning patterns every single time. If those patterns are rushed, disconnected, or based on unrealistic expectations, that's exactly what your body will expect when you're with a partner. It's like muscle memory, but for your sexual response. So yeah, this stuff matters way more than most people think. Here's mistake number 1, and it's huge. You're rushing through it like you're late for a meeting. Most guys learn to masturbate quickly, maybe because they were worried about getting caught as teenagers, or they just wanted to get to the good part. But here's what happens when you consistently train yourself to finish fast. Your body starts thinking that's how sex is supposed to work. You're basically teaching yourself premature ejaculation without realizing it. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between your hand and a partner. It just knows arousal happens, things escalate quickly, and boom, it's over in 2 minutes. Then when you're with an actual person, your body does exactly what you've trained it to do. And suddenly you're wondering why you can't last longer, why you feel out of control, why sex feels rushed and unsatisfying. I've talked to so many guys who struggle with this, and they all think it's just genetics or bad luck. But when we dig deeper, almost all of them have the same pattern. They've been speed running masturbation for years. They treat it like a quick task to check off their list rather than something to actually enjoy. Think about it this way. If you always wolf down your food in 30 seconds, your stomach would get used to that pace. You'd probably get indigestion, miss out on actually tasting your food, and never feel truly satisfied. Your sexual response works the same way. When you're always rushing, you miss out on all the sensations and stages that make it enjoyable, and your body learns that fast is normal. The fix? Slow down. I'm not saying make it a 3-hour event, but give yourself permission to actually enjoy the process. Pay attention to what you're feeling instead of just racing to the finish line. Notice the different sensations, the buildup, the anticipation. Let yourself get close and then back off a little. Practice control instead of just letting it happen to you. Your future self and your future partners will thank you. And here's a bonus. When you slow down and pay attention, it actually feels way better. You're not just getting a quick release, you're having a full experience. Most guys are shocked when they realize how much they've been missing by rushing through it. Mistake number 2 is probably the biggest one, using hardcore pornography as your main source of arousal. Now, I'm not here to shame anyone's viewing habits, but let's be honest about what's happening. Most porn today is basically the fast food of sexual content. It's designed to be intense, immediate, and nothing like real life. When you consistently need increasingly extreme content to get aroused, you're rewiring your brain to expect unrealistic scenarios. Real people start seeming boring. Normal, intimate moments don't do it for you anymore. You need more and more stimulation to feel the same excitement. It's like putting hot sauce on everything. Eventually, you can't taste food without it. Some guys tell me they can't even get excited with a partner anymore unless they're thinking about something they saw online. That's not confidence. That's dependency. And it creates this weird disconnect where you're physically present with someone but mentally somewhere else entirely. How is that supposed to feel good for either person involved? Here's what's really happening in your brain. Every time you pair masturbation with intense visual stimulation, you're creating a neurological pathway. Your brain starts to expect that level of intensity to feel aroused. But real sex isn't like porn. Real bodies don't look like that. Real people don't act like that. Real intimacy is slower, messier, more connected, and way more about the person you're with than about performing some fantasy. The reality check. If you need to close your eyes and imagine pornographic scenarios to enjoy being with a real person, that's a red flag that your brain has been hijacked. You've trained yourself to need artificial stimulation to feel pleasure, and that's stealing your ability to connect with actual human beings. And let's talk about what this does to your expectations. When porn is your reference point, you start expecting women to look and act like performers whose job it is to look perfect and do extreme things. That's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you either, because it sets you up for disappointment with real people and real experiences. The fix? Try taking breaks from porn, even for just a week or two. Let your brain reset. Rediscover what actually turns you on about real connection, real touch, real intimacy. You might be surprised how much more sensitive and responsive you become when you're not constantly bombarding your brain with artificial stimulation. I know this one's tough because porn is everywhere and easily accessible, but think about it like this. Would you rather have amazing sex with real people, or would you rather need a screen to feel excited? Your choice, but you can't really have both at the same level. Here's mistake number 3, and it's the sneakiest one: using masturbation as an emotional band-aid rather than actual sexual desire. Be honest, how often are you doing it because you're actually turned on versus doing it because you're bored, stressed, anxious, or just trying to feel something? When masturbation becomes your go-to for dealing with emotions, you're not really addressing what's bothering you. You're just temporarily numbing it. And here's the kicker. Afterward, you often feel worse, empty, guilty, sometimes even more anxious than before. That post-masturbation crash isn't normal, by the way. When it's coming from genuine desire and you're present with yourself, you should feel relaxed and satisfied, not depleted. If you consistently feel worse afterward, that's your body telling you something important. I see this pattern all the time. Guys who masturbate when they're stressed about work, when they can't sleep, when they're avoiding difficult conversations, when they're feeling lonely or disconnected. It becomes this automatic response to any uncomfortable emotion. But here's the problem. Those emotions are trying to tell you something important. And if you keep numbing them, you never actually deal with what's causing them. The warning signs: you're doing it multiple times a day when you're not even horny. You feel worse afterward instead of better. You're using it to procrastinate or avoid dealing with stress. You feel compulsive about it, like you have to do it rather than want to. You notice you reach for it whenever you feel any kind of emotional discomfort. This creates a cycle where you never learn healthy ways to deal with your emotions. So you become more dependent on masturbation as a coping mechanism, which makes you feel worse about yourself, which creates more emotions you don't know how to handle. It's exhausting, and it doesn't actually solve anything. The fix? Start asking yourself, am I actually turned on right now, or am I just trying to feel better? If it's the latter, try dealing with the real emotion first. Go for a walk, call a friend, do some push-ups, take a cold shower, journal about what's bothering you, whatever helps you process what you're actually feeling. This doesn't mean you can never masturbate when you're stressed, but there's a difference between doing it occasionally because you're genuinely aroused and it happens to be relaxing versus using it as your primary emotional regulation tool. Look, I know some of you are thinking, this seems like no big deal, but here's why it matters. These habits don't just affect you alone. They affect how you show up in relationships, how you feel about yourself, and how much you actually enjoy your own sexuality. When you're constantly rushing, dependent on extreme stimulation, and using sex as an emotional band-aid, you're missing out on actual pleasure. You're training yourself to be disconnected from your own body and desires. You're creating patterns that make real intimacy harder, not easier. And the crazy part? Most guys think this stuff is just how men are. Nope, this is learned behavior, which means it can be unlearned. You weren't born needing to rush through sexual experiences. You weren't born requiring extreme visual stimulation to feel aroused. You weren't born using orgasms to avoid emotions. These are habits you picked up along the way, probably without even realizing it. The good news is that once you become aware of these patterns, you can start changing them. Doesn't happen overnight, but it's definitely possible. And the difference it makes is huge, not just in your sex life, but in your overall relationship with yourself and your body. So what does healthy masturbation look like? You feel genuinely aroused beforehand. You're present with yourself during. You feel satisfied and relaxed afterward, not guilty or empty. You can still get excited about real partners and real intimacy. You're doing it because you want to, not because you feel like you have to. It enhances your sexuality instead of diminishing it. It should feel good in your body and good in your mind. It should make you more connected to your desires. not less. It should complement your relationship with others, not compete with it. Here's the bottom line. Masturbation isn't the problem. Unconscious habits around it are. If you recognized yourself in any of these 3 mistakes, don't beat yourself up about it. Most guys have been there. The good news is that awareness is the first step to changing anything. Start small. Pick one habit to adjust. Maybe this week you focus on slowing down. Maybe next week you try taking a break from porn and see how you feel. Maybe you start checking in with yourself about whether you're actually aroused or just trying to avoid something else. Pay attention to how you feel before, during, and after. Be honest with yourself about what's actually working for you versus what you're just doing on autopilot. Your body has been trying to tell you things. It's time to start listening. Your relationship with your own sexuality matters. It affects your confidence, your relationships, and how much you actually enjoy one of life's greatest pleasures. You deserve to have that relationship be healthy, conscious, and genuinely satisfying. So here's my question for you. Now that you know this, what are you going to do differently?